to look at the Python match case statement. Okay, so now this statement was introduced in Python 10, okay, Python 3.10, and this can be used in areas where complex if statements, right, may be required. So we can just use the match case to replace the else if and the else and the if statement. Okay, so now let's look at this syntax of the match case. Now we have the match keyword followed by the expression that the cases is going to compare in order for us to get the corresponding output. Okay, so now this is the syntax. Now let's have a typical if statement example. So we have value is equal to 100. So depending on the value, when the if statement evaluates it, it will print the corresponding output. Okay, now when we run this program, we are going to see that we have this is 100. Now when I change this value to 200, it is going to print the corresponding output. Okay, now how can we replace this with a match Python match case statement? Okay, now it is very simple. We'll have our value here as well. Okay, we'll have our value here as well, and we're just going to write our match keyword, right, and give it the variable over here. Okay, so we have the variable 0, and now let me change it to 100. Let me change it to 100, and now this value, okay, this cases is going to compare the value here with the cases and print the corresponding output. So in a case where the value here is 100, we're going to get the corresponding output of this is 100. So we see the same thing happening here. And if it's 200, we're going to see a corresponding change in the output. So we see this is 200. Okay, so now this is how we write it. So we write the case for each of the values that we think we can give to this so that we get the corresponding output. Now you might be wondering that why have I written a case and brought an underscore here? Now this case with an underscore represents the else, right, in the if statement. So this is equally this is the same as the else. So but in the case we call it default. So this is the default case. So in a case where all this does not match the value or the expression that we have here, then this is going to be the fallback case that is going to be printed. So now if I remove everything here and I only print, let's say 1, we know that we don't have any 1 in the match statement, so we'll have there are no values. Okay, now that is it. Okay, so let's look at another example. We have a list of languages, okay, and we are trying to use the for loop, which we discussed in a previous section, to loop or to iterate over these languages. And if the current language, right, matches any case in here, we print the corresponding output. Okay, so we only have 3 cases. We have Java, JavaScript, and Python, and we didn't bring the Go and the so we have Java over here. Let me bring Java. So Java. Okay, then we didn't bring the Go, the C++, and the C sharp. Okay, so when the value here is Java, now this value is going to be placed here, Java, then it will come to the case and check which case is equal to this value. Okay, so now in the first case it is Java. So now when we run this code, we are going to see Java on top. Now in the second iteration, this value is going to be set to JavaScript. So this value is going to be brought here, then it will match or it will check the cases that which case matches this value here, and it's going to print JavaScript. Now in the case of the Go, we don't have any case that matches the Go, so it will default to this. This is not a language, okay, as well as the C++, and the C sharp. Okay, so this is also how to use the for loop with the match statement. Now let's look at another example using the or operator. So now in the match statement, when you want to use the or operator, unlike the if statement where we write the or, in the match statement we use the pipe. Okay, we use the pipe operator. Now we have a variable here called today, and we're taking an input from a user. Okay, and we are saying that match today dot lower. So we are trying to convert however the user is going to type this input. We are first converting into a lowercase, then we are checking it with the cases here. So we are saying that if this value, okay, if this value is Sunday or Saturday, we want to display that it is weekend. else if it is not anything other than this, we are just going to print it is just a weekday. Okay, so now when we run this program and type, let's say Monday, we have just a weekday. And when we run it again and type, let's say um Saturday, okay, so Saturday, it is weekend. Okay, now um we have another example using the as keyword in the match statement. So we have even, odd, and we've stored 3 inside. So let's first of all store 0 inside. Okay, then we are saying that match even, odd. So now we are using the as keyword here. Okay, now the as keyword helps us to assign an alias to the item here because we are using an or. So this as keyword will make us have a placeholder. So depending on the value that we pass here, we are just going to see that value inside here. So now we have the case where we have 0 or 2. We want to use the as keyword and assign it to. So whatever value that matches this one is going to be the output here. So when I run this code, it will tell me that we got 0. So now we, in this case, we had two values, 0 or 2. So when you pass 0 here, this e is going to be set to 0, and when you use it as a placeholder over here, that is the value that you're going to get. So we have got 0, we are even now. Now when I change this to 2, the value is going to change from 0 to 2, and it will say that we got 2, we are even now. Now when I change it to 1, it will say that got 1, this odd. Okay, when I change it to 3, got 3, this odd. So this is how we can use the as keyword in the match statement. Okay, now we also have another nice example where we have points. Okay, points, and we are trying to, like, let's say, so point or coordinates on a graph. Okay, and we are trying to loop through the points, and we are saying that match this point to the cases here. So in the cases where we have 0 0, we know that 0 0 is the origin of any graph. Okay, so when it matches 0 0, just print the origin, and we use this variable here, okay, to imitate how this is being represented. Okay, how this is being represented, or how the value is being represented. So in a case where we see a value here and 0 here, we want to print that we are on the x axis, and the x is equal to that value that will match, or if assuming here was like 2, okay, we'll match that one. Okay, and equally we are inverting the process. So in this case also, where we see 0 here and we see a value here, okay, we are saying that it is also on the y-axis. So I'm on the y-axis, and the y value is equal to the y. Okay, and in a case where we have two values like this, for instance, we have 3 and 3. Now I we can also use the if statement inside the match case. Okay, so now I'm going to um display this, okay, depending on what I get here, depending on the evaluation I get here. So if I see that the x value is equal to the y value, okay, I'm going to print um I am the diagonal, and the values are, let's say, the x and y. Or if the x value is equal to the negative, so if, let's say, we have 3 here and negative 3 here, this also is true. Okay, and I'm going to get the corresponding output. So in a case where we don't have any points corresponding or matching any of this case here, okay, we're just going to print just a random point. Okay, now, so when I run this, we see that we have here the origin. So this got printed out successfully, and now this wasn't printed because we don't have any value here that starts with a 2 and a 0. Okay, so now when I change this one to 2 and I change this one to 0, we will see that this case will be picked rather than this case. Okay, so now let's run this and see. It will change. Now initially the output was the x-axis, and y-axis is equal to 2. Now when I run this again, we see that I'm on the x-axis and the x value is equal to 2. And equally, we see here, we check that if the x is equal to the y, or if the x is equal to the negative, is equal to negative of y, okay, we print on the diagonal. So here we had 3 3, so we are going to say that this will be this will evaluate to true, and this output is going to be printed equally. So now we see the diagonal, and this is 3 3. Now we have a random value here, so we have 2 and 4. So we'll say that this is just a random point. Now if I change this one to a negative number, okay, you're still going to get the same output. So I'm a diagonal and I have 3, -3. So now this is how we can maximize or be productive using the match statement instead of the if statement. Okay, so it's all boiled down to preference, but I think that using the match statement gives you more flexibility. All right, guys, see you guys in the next tutorial. If you don't understand anything, make sure to leave me a message in the comment section and I'll do well to address all your questions. Thank you.